something happened. I believe this is a deep traumatized individual and been there, where they literally are like, maybe it's more important to look happy than it is to actually be happy. How's it going? Oh, he's such a happy guy. And you're not on the inside. So you have to watch so closely, you know? And that takes time. Sometimes it takes patience.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Are you really happy? How does the rest of the way you live your life demonstrate your true value? Where is your attention really going? That's all I'm saying. I don't want to be too mean to anybody because this is hard. We're all having a hard time here. So don't feel judged, anybody that's watching us. I'm just saying you can walk through life with your eyes really... There's so many scriptures that talk about paying attention. Stay awake. At Gethsemane, Jesus was like, for the love of God, stay awake. You know, I know that's context specific, but it's the only verse I could think of. I know that there's plenty of verses that talk about being alert. Yeah. You know, for the bridegroom, lest you have no oil in your candle. You gotta be awake and alert to realize some of these things, because people will lead you astray. They'll be like, look at how happy I am, man. Look at how shiny my watch is. You want this. You want this, right? And see you later, man. We'll wait for you on the other side when you're ready to be part of the winners. And meanwhile, it's like you get into that world and then you realize that it's so sophisticated that there's mechanisms that once you're in it to keep you from going, hey man, I'm in here and this is bullshit. I'm not happy. I got herpes from sleeping with too many people and I'm like in trouble. There's like mechanisms to keep you quiet once you're in there. You got skin in the game now. Now you're invested and you have to you're like us demons that have to pretend to be happy.
Why It's Okay to Be a Loser. That is the title of the video we are going to be reacting to today by Einzelgänger. I'm probably saying that wrong, but we've actually reacted to one of his episodes before. So anyway, this is, I think, from a Taoist Philosophy. So I think that's where he's kind of like pulling out some of the ideas here for this.
Why It's Okay to Be a Loser. Taoist Philosophy for the Unambitious Failures and Nobodies. Right?
As we get into a new year, baby, this is the video you need.
It's almost like the language is like leading you like why it's okay to be a piece of crap or something. Like what?
But anyway, I'm sure there's an interesting message in here. So anyway, we won't keep you waiting. Let's get into it.
Is it truly bad to be a loser? The ancient Taoist sages love to mock social conventions, seeing them as hypocritical and often hindering true fulfillment and happiness. For example, many consider chasing wealth and fame to be good and ambition to be admirable. But are these ideas objective truth? Or, as the Taoists would argue, are these just man-made concepts that do more harm than good? The Taoist sages urge people to reject social conventions that cause harm and misery, even if it meant being judged as a loser in today's terms. Yang Chu, for example, a philosopher who appears in the Taoist scripture Lieh, explained that attaining wealth or reputation is futile. Sure, both can be beneficial. For instance, wealth generally leads to more opportunities for pleasure, and a good reputation may open doors that usually remain closed. However, there are no guarantees, and in many cases, chasing wealth and reputation costs us more than it provides in return, as it's a stressful ordeal. Just imagine the energy it takes to amass resources, or the uphill fight trying to maintain a good reputation, which is predominantly out of your control, as people's opinions are fickle as the wind. Moreover, according to Yang Chu, we destroy ourselves in our attempts to climb the social ladder at the expense of happiness. In today's hustle culture, chasing success is like a religious duty people push each other to achieve, often at the cost of their well-being, leading to stress, anxiety, and burnout. Society glorifies winners and treats losers as pariahs, almost as if not achieving is a moral failing. But is this fair? Is being a loser really so bad? We have discussed the concept of the modern-day loser several times on this channel. This video sheds light on it through the lens of Taoist philosophy. We'll be looking at the Taoist text Lieh or Lieh, specifically the creative translation by Taoist scholar Eva Wong, which, in my opinion, has some interesting perspectives regarding this topic. If you want to support Einzelgänger, consider joining my Patreon page, which allows access to ad-free videos, voting for videos, and free merch. Also, follow me on Facebook and Instagram for updates and quotes. Thank you, and I hope you'll enjoy this video. So, what does it mean to be a loser these days? Dictionaries have countless definitions of the word loser. First and foremost, a loser means someone who loses, such as losing a game. However, the term is currently used as a derogatory term to indicate someone unsuccessful or even unattractive. It's not just someone who failed at a particular pursuit. It has become a societal archetype characterized by failure, not living up to expectations of success and achievement. Being a loser seems to have more weight than just having failed. It's like having done something terrible. It's almost as if not being ambitious in today's achievement society is a form of blasphemy. A fairly recent Dutch article tells the story of Joost and Iris, two unrelated people who claim not to be ambitious. Joost argues that his attitude has led to stigmatization. He feels that if you're labeled an unambitious person, you're someone who refuses to reach his full potential and keeps himself small in a world of unlimited possibilities. Iris feels that not being ambitious is a curse word these days, and thus she often feels guilty for her lack of ambition. The article also features author Marianne Donner, who argues, and I quote, "The Western world is so focused on becoming the best version of yourself. It always has to be more and better in every aspect." End quote. Ambition is a great virtue these days. For many, it's an important, almost obligatory factor in being attractive dating material. And just doing your job is often not what employers want to hear. They want someone willing to grow and self-improve constantly on top of their job. Striking is the apparent hostility towards people who don't conform to the cult of ambition. Perhaps that's why a derogatory word for people who don't achieve much exists. It's almost as if you're committing a crime by not pursuing ambitions. The meaning of good and evil has changed throughout the ages, evolving based on factors like society, religion, and culture. In the past, in a Christian context, for example, being good meant being virtuous, and being bad meant being sinful. But in today's society, have success and failure become the new virtue and vice? Have losers become the new sinners? In other words, are you a bad person if you're not ambitious and aren't achieving? Considering current societal values, such as becoming the best version of yourself and always improving, or as philosopher Byung-Chul Han puts it, constant self-optimization, refusing to engage in these things goes against the grain. When achieving is a good, not doing so, or not aiming to do so, is, so it seems, a bad. An attitude that people like Joost and Iris experienced firsthand. Moreover, many seem to believe that one's lack of success is their fault. They just didn't put in the effort to succeed. If they would have worked harder, they would have made it, just like that small minority who did. There's this collective belief that everyone can succeed if they work hard for it. But is that true? And even if it's true, is there anything wrong with people like Joost and Iris choosing not to be ambitious? And if so, why then? The Taoist sages, described in the Lieh, have different views on the matter. According to them, pursuing material success is a waste of time, and judging people based on their achievements is a big mistake.
All right, good time for a pause, I think. When I think about kind of like this philosophy, I think that some people could watch this and make a bad decision. Like I hear what the message is kind of like getting at, but I think there's always a caution out there to not just jump on some idea or thought and then make a radical shift, take everything with a grain of salt, because I do see that there's something good within this. Anyway, all I'm trying to say is kind of like food for thought. You know, there's something there. Like I find that if you're, burning the engine on all cylinders, working 100 miles an hour, trying to get things done, and you're feeling the anxiety and the pressure of it, maybe that's a time to step back. And maybe you're deciding to play the unambitious role in your life, and you're starting to not like that anymore. Maybe it's time to start pursuing a few things. It's all, circumstantial where you are. At least that's what I think about it anyway.
There's so much that could be said. So many good gems of wisdom that don't let them pass you by.
Yeah.
Regarding this topic. Like you could sit there and take things apart. Like what did the Buddha say when the people that were just so happened to be like catching his attention, like he got their attention and they started following around and they were like, so you're going to go around and tell everybody? He was like, those that know already know. And those that don't aren't going to listen to me. And they convinced them. They were like, no, there's some people on the cusp of knowing that if you went around and told them, they would become enlightened.
Yeah.
And he was like, all right, I'll go around and tell people. So, but there's a reality to those that know already know and those that don't know. Like it's like in the Bible when it said, when the guy in hell is like, go save my family. It's like, these got the prophets. If they're not listening to the prophets, they're not going to listen to me.
Yeah.
So open up thine ears, and I don't know how to like not make it seem totally ego-y that Justin the Prophet's going to say something here. If you can't recognize that you are part of a corporation, that the country, whatever country in this modern world you're part of, likely you're part of like a business. You're a commodity, you're an employee of the country you inhabit.
Yeah.
If you're American, you're an American employee. And you get rewards and punishments based on your performance.
Yeah.
So that's like the reality, that's what the modern society is. We're trying to keep a society going here. Don't you like nice things? Well, we all got to contribute. And sometimes the only way to get people to contribute is through motivation, like motivating them the right way.
Yeah.
The neat thing about this, clever thing about the practice is that everybody always feels like they got to do more. Yeah. Even if you're on top, it's somehow not enough. Anybody could feel like a loser compared to somebody else. Oh man, I'm a loser compared to that person.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll surround myself with people like a little bit less than me to feel good about myself.
Yeah.
And now we enter into, even though I don't really believe in good and bad, we are entering into like demonic territory. Because the thing that's demonic about it, that's really synonymous with evil, is ignorance. It's just those that know and those that do not know. And unfortunately, a large part of the knowing in life comes from experiencing. So if you wanted really somebody to have the end-all say on this matter, you'd have to have somebody that knows experience. I got awards and I was deemed success. Hey, you're a success. And somebody that spent some time at the bottom of the barrel as a loser.
Yeah.
And hopefully the richer the experience, the better. Like I was up and then I was down and then I was up again and then I stayed up for a long time and then I made a declaration that I'm purposely going down and then I went down and then, somebody that was like an authority on it.
I feel like we all get a dose of that sometimes in our life. We may not spend enough time, thinking about it and taking the time to analyze it the way we probably should. Because we're getting forced back. Get back in there. You had too much downtime.
Right. But it just seems like, the idea of laziness. There was a cover of, I just heard the title of the book once that was Laziness Doesn't Exist. And I was like, that's brilliant. Because just try and be lazy. Just try it. Try to be, who's the person that like people always talk about? He's got Cheeto dust sitting in his mom's basement with Cheeto dust. Yeah. Just try and sit in a basement with Cheeto dust. Yeah. First of all, you got to have like an enabler, Yeah. Even somebody that's like an addict on the street has to like wake up and gather what they need for the day, or even doing this is like a movement. It's not the same thing as other things, but it's something. It's very hard to exist without exerting some effort, whether it's manipulation or something. And since I don't believe in good and bad, I think it's a matter of ignorance versus knowing. There's ways of improving your quality of life. So that all being said, I kind of agree with your standpoint that it's pretty context dependent. Because after all, somebody could always manipulate you. Yeah. You could be the definition of success and find somebody that's like, well, I can use your sense of safety there and destabilize you by Machiavellianly revealing to you that you shouldn't feel so good about yourself. I mean, you're wasting your talents. There's more you could do.
Yeah.
So you just wait. So in a nutshell, what I would say is supreme to all this is the ability to look around and see things as they are. Because after all, there could be somebody that loves their life that is around people that are talking about them behind their back. It's like, he's a loser. You know, loser doesn't understand that he should feel like a loser. Meanwhile, they're like hollow inside or dead. Or it's possible to get the wrong idea and somebody be like, chasing things is bad. And so you like make yourself what society deems a loser. Yeah. Like, look at me, I'm wearing a potato sack and, you know, like, y'all don't get it because you're not holy like me turning it away. You're given again to like an ideology. You're like, you know, you've shaved your head and gone into the cave for the wrong reasons. It's more ideology. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's about cultivating an actual sense of, okay, I can parse through this and see the reality of my situation. How much am I really taking advantage of the situations that I'm in? How much am I really contributing? How much does that actually matter to me? How much, is this indoctrination? Is there a reality to this? You got to like decide that stuff for yourself. You know, did that make sense?
Yes, for sure. Yeah, no, it's nuanced, and like we've talked about here, you gotta sift through it and find what works for you. Try to be true to yourself and authentic. And that takes time and experience and a lot of the things that you talked about.
Who's walking around? Not a snapshot of life, not like one moment wherever you've hit all the boxes. Like, I'm a good provider, I'm happy, all my relationships and I'm healthy on top of it. I've got all the things. Is that seem to come and go? Or is there anybody that's sustainably that for years that's like got an exact prescription for everybody to live by?
Yeah, I don't think you could narrow it down to one person, or I don't know if there is anyone who has.
It breaks into like moralizing, and instead of going to the honest answer, which is probably true if you philosophize yourself to the root of it, which is like a big I don't know. Yeah. Instead, you land on a very shaky, it's this way and this is what's right. Yeah. And you just walk through the earth thinking you know what is definitely right. You'll reap the consequences of that. So, but some people, like the Buddha said, those who know, and those who don't. And unfortunately, experience is often the like, okay, through experience now I understand. Yeah.
In the story, Effort argues with Destiny. Effort and Destiny appear as characters, discussing who is more influential, Effort or Destiny. Effort claims that his achievements are better than Destiny's, but Destiny takes this into question. As a counter-argument, Destiny recalls countless examples that show that neither effort nor talent decided people's trajectories. For instance, he noted corrupt officials who are rich, honest, excellent workers who are poor, talented, virtuous people who remain unknown, and the untalented who rise to the top. Destiny continued, saying, and I quote, "If you are as effective as you say, then why don't you make the hard-working people rich? Why don't you give virtuous people a long and prosperous life? Why are the intelligent and able people not employed? And why do stupid people occupy important places in government?" End quote. The story reminds me of being a content creator on YouTube and the ongoing discussion about whether success, or a lack of it, depends mainly on a creator's effort or the algorithm. Many argue that success on this platform is almost entirely in your own hands. You just have to make good videos and create great titles and thumbnails, and you'll get there. And some claim everyone can do this as long as they work hard. For these people, success boils down to effort. Moreover, if you happen to fail on YouTube, well, it's your fault. Blaming the algorithm or other factors outside yourself isn't fair. It's all on you. Or at least for the most part. Many channels follow advice from so-called experts. They create good content and craft compelling thumbnails and titles like their successful peers. Yet they remain invisible, disproving the experts' claims. At the same time, saying Hog Tua during a street interview lands someone in a partnership with Jake Paul and makes that person's podcast one of the most watched in the world. In our achievement-driven society, we overestimate the power of effort and the amount of control we have over our success, as if succeeding depends almost entirely on hard work. Survivorship bias is an essential factor in such reasoning. Sure, some indeed make it. But does that mean everyone will? Does that deny the role of destiny in their success? From the Taoist perspective, you cannot flat out deny the role of destiny. Luck and chance are always deciding factors. Not everyone is blessed with high intelligence, creative talent, a stimulating environment, good mentors, etc. We don't get to choose the cards we're dealt with. Thus, many we consider losers may simply have been unlucky. They may have suffered factors beyond their control that significantly shaped their fate. As mentioned earlier, an achievement-driven society values ambition, success, accomplishment, and, in many cases, material wealth and fame. If you have all of those, you've made it. You're considered a successful person. A loser, however, lacks these things. A loser, therefore, is seen as someone less worthy, someone of lower value. The unfortunate term low-value male has become common lately, describing an unsuccessful man who is unattractive because of his lack of success. It's someone you don't want to be, someone worthy of contempt. In the chapter Fortune and Worth, Taoist sage Tung Kuo makes short work of the societal concept of being worthy and valuable. I've discussed this story in a previous video, but I believe it's also relevant to this topic. Two friends met each other again after a long time. One of them had become a successful, wealthy man. The other remained poor and insignificant. The unsuccessful friend complained about his fate, which annoyed the successful one, who argued he might simply be more virtuous and, therefore, more worthy in the eyes of others. But the sage corrected him, saying that worth cannot be measured by social or political success. These things are not something we control. Some people simply have more luck than others. According to the sage, both men were buried in illusions of worth and value based on social norms. The idea that material success, fame, or achievement equates to worth is strong and widespread. However, from a Taoist viewpoint, it's also a social construct. It's not an objective truth. It's simply what people have agreed upon. The term loser has no real meaning. It's just a label based on society's focus on shallow measures of success. Unfortunately, society's emphasis on success and achievement is substantial, causing people to suffer. Why do we place so much importance on success and failure? And aren't we wasting our lives being concerned with this dichotomy?
I'm breaking the rule. We were only supposed to stop at once, but I'm breaking it.
That's okay.
I was just thinking about a scenario about a guy who enjoyed his life. He was like, he let's say he's a lawyer and he was good at his job and he got a good wife and he was kind of like just happy. He didn't walk around bragging, but it was the kind of happiness that radiates off you. You know, you go to a thing and it's just like, hey, hang in there, man. He's putting his hand on people's shoulders and shit. And somebody gets irritated, you know, his enemy, his secret enemy that poses as his friend gets irritated and decides he's going to seduce that guy's wife.
Yeah.
And then that guy's disillusioned. And he goes, well, maybe you shouldn't have kept talking like that. You walk around everywhere as if you were so happy with your life. It's like most healthy people are going to be like, yeah, that guy sounds like a bad guy that came in and did that.
Yeah.
This is like the plot, in some sense, of the Count of Monte Cristo.
Yeah.
You know? That guy, the only measure that somebody else that's jealous can do is to, like, screw your life up because they can't handle the fact that you're happy.
Yeah.
Did the lawyer really do anything wrong? And can he handle the change of things? You know, you might need to enter into, like, after a life explosion like that might send you to religion. Like, I don't know, man, I was at the top. I was the top lawyer, had the best wife.
Isn't this why classes tend to hang out with each other? Like, if you're middle class, you're probably hanging out with middle class people.
And
if you're super rich, you're probably hanging out with super rich.
Right. And at the lower classes, you might see violent drive-bys and gun shootings and drug dealings. Yeah. And at the highest class, you might see white-collar crime and affairs and gossip and ruining of reputations.
Yeah.
The same petty shit just gets more sophisticated at the higher levels.
Yeah.
But I'm saying the thing that makes you run for a deeper understanding of life, because that guy might go, you know, I had everything, and then I was betrayed, by all these people, And that might lead them into a place where now they're imperturbable. Now they're more measured. It's like, you know what? I'm still do lawyering, but I'm like a pro bono lawyer now. Or maybe I still do it for money, whatever. I became a defense lawyer because I realized I all of a sudden had some kind of revelation about that. These things, whose life is without lessons and stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
And revelations that grow as you get older. But what I'm pointing to is that to me, so often people try to put themselves in a safe position that's based on external factors. But I think everybody in the end, like we all got to die one day. Like most of us get ill and then die.
Yeah.
And most of us, if we're going to have like a rich life, part of that is having some connection to others. And if you have connection to others, you're not just a you anymore. You're dealing with their frailties too.
Yeah.
And so you might be like, if I'm going to open up my heart enough to care about someone else, I hurt when they hurt. I'm sad when they're sad if I love someone else.
Yeah.
It's not ever just about the one person. So to me, a word like loser or failure is just, at the end, it's like a useful, manipulative word. Like if I can tell someone, you're being lazy, and that makes them, and they're like, oh, thank you. And it's like, no, lazy means bad. And they're like, oh, I'm bad. I should do something. If people can manipulate each other with words, that's where those words come from. You know, I think nature does the work of a lot of other things. When you send your kids off to school, it's no longer just mother and father's things that form their opinion about things. Most people care about some, like how their peers accept them. Am I being accepted into the group? Am I thriving based on society standards? It's not always coming from one place. You understand?
Yeah.
So in that sense, you know, if you're at the top of your game, you just try. You know, maybe you'll realize I'm not worthy to unloose the laces of the Cheeto dust guy because I can't stop trying to be. I'm neurotically chasing success. I can't stop.
Oh, yeah. That definitely can be a thing. And then, like, I
want to be successful. Do you?
Yeah, of course.
I want to be successful.
This takes you to the other end of this spectrum, though, of like what do you deem as successful, and what does your surroundings deem as successful? Because they're probably two different things, right?
Right.
Success might not look like to everyone else what you think is success. Like success for you might be being Cheeto dust guy, and then you might be in the right place at the right time. Or maybe it's doing something that's unconventional, doing something that isn't typical that everyone else is doing. Like watch how everybody who's, you know, following the social norms get all disgruntled when they find someone do something outside of the box that gets them ahead of everyone else, when they're like, he's not following the rules. I wish I could do it. Yeah. I could do what they're doing. Yeah. I'm like, well, you just didn't think about it, you know? Like,
well, if that worked, then everybody would do it. So we're trying to have a society. You agree with me, right? And people have a tendency to agree with each other, you know, based on whether they're aware of it or not, often petty things.
Yeah.
So, okay, but here's the thing. I think most people end up compromising.
Oh, yeah. Because
at some point in your life, you probably realize, you know what, I could live this bullshitty life and like have all these trappings that society says, but it doesn't work the way they promise you it's going to work. Yeah. So in the end, I work, but then I have my birdhouse making hobby on the side, and I do that, and it fulfills me. And people go, "You make beautiful birdhouses," and I feel legitimized. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is, there's often like a compromise in there. Few are they that go all the way and are like, you know, willing to go all the way. Let's just say.
Yeah.
And instead, you get a kind of compromise and like a justification and like a halfway thing.
Yeah.
You know?
And maybe it's to the degree that you compromise that there's a level of suffering there. However much you're willing to compromise is almost like saying, this is how much suffering I'm willing to tolerate.
But the ultimate point I'm making is that sway to be societally normal is strong.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's strong. They know what they're doing. Yeah. They know how to, in every movie, paint the guy that's making sense as crazy and paint very shallow ideals on the silver screen as good because we got to fill seats and we need people buying things and believing in money and doing their part.
Yeah.
It is possible to see through it and strike a balance. And I think as you get older, you can even get more and more authentic and find ways of really, you know, there's always something. If we were all cavemen and we had to go out and hunt to eat, literally, like there's no qualms about it, like I have to do something or else I'm going to starve to death, you would still have hunts where you're like, the gods are shining on me today. A rabbit jumped right in my trap. And you would have days where you're like, what is going on? I stepped on a stick. I've got to like remove my pinky toe now. You know, like I guess I'm cursed. But it's circumstantial. But you can grow in wisdom to like be authentic even in seemingly pretty harsh situations where it's like, man, I feel like everyone's fake and there's no way to be fake and there's no way to really connect with people and the world is so shallow and all this. If you work on seeing things as they are and you do that watch videos like this and grow in experience, you can learn and things can get better, I think.
Despite societal ideals, the Taoist sages believed anticipating success and failure is a waste of time. Moreover, the Lieh dedicates a chapter to why these concepts are not worth chasing, as doing so only causes anxiety. The chapter Success and Failure doubles down on the observation that success and failure are largely out of our control. We never know beforehand if we'll succeed or fail. We can work ourselves into an early grave. A desired outcome is never guaranteed. Yet, in pursuit of it, we may exploit ourselves for years, chasing success and wealth, until we break down, leaving irreparable damage to our bodies and minds. We'll be anxious, obsessed with succeeding, constantly worrying about the future. But gaining success itself isn't the problem. Achievement isn't bad. What's bad is the relentless striving towards it, the attachment to a desired outcome. According to the Lieh, we're better off accepting the role of destiny. I quote, "Only those who accept the natural flow of events will not be concerned about life and death, or anxious about praise or blame. Intelligent people will often want to calculate the likelihood of success and failure before they take action. However, their chances of succeeding are often not very different from those people who do not think about the odds." End quote. Despite human influence, things will happen as they happen. Some people won't succeed, no matter how hard they try. Others succeed without doing much for it. This just goes to show how relative being a loser is. Destiny decides we can't all be winners, no matter how hard we strive for it. So why put so much emphasis on achieving an ideal that is ultimately not in our control? But suppose we let go of the attachment to success and failure, seeing it for the capricious phenomena they are. In that case, the derogatory term loser is rendered meaningless. It loses its weight. Sure, we'll still be losers in the view of others. They may see us as failures, lazy, unmotivated, etc. But according to the Taoist sages, that's not something to be concerned about, as reputation is also among the things ultimately not up to us. The Taoists, however, don't say you shouldn't pursue anything, or give things your best shot, or that you should neglect yourself. The Lieh posits that although chasing riches can injure you, poverty can also hurt you, but clinging to outcomes causes suffering. The Lieh's viewpoint is this: people who manage to accept destiny and detach from outcomes will be calm and at peace in the face of adversity. Moreover, and this is my own addition, being okay with being a loser means letting go of the fear of failure and the fear of not conforming to societal ideals, fears that may be stopping you from truly being yourself. So what do you think? Are the Taoist sages wise in their approach of success and failure? Or do they perhaps cowardly resign, embracing passivity disguised as wisdom? Let us know in the comments.
I was laughing at that part with the lady because she's like, I was imagining somebody trying to be like, I don't care. And people being like, you're a loser. And then being like, like resolute that they don't care. Meanwhile, it's very hard to accept your loserdom if the world around you is calling you a loser.
Oh, yeah. Jeez.
But I noticed that part there where it showed the winners, I guess, and they were all like laughing in their suits and like, we're the winners. And I know that this is what the takeaway is. Keep your eyes open. You have to watch so carefully because there are for sure people that would be like, I'd rather appear happy than be happy.
Yeah.
Like something happened. I believe this is a deep traumatized individual and been there where they literally are like, maybe it's more important to look happy than it is to actually be happy. How's it going? Oh, he's such a happy guy. And you're not on the inside. So you have to watch so closely. You know, and that takes time. Sometimes it takes patience.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Are you really happy? How does the rest of the way you live your life demonstrate your true value?
Yeah.
How much time, where is your attention really going? That's all I'm saying. I don't want to be too mean to anybody because this is hard. We're all having a hard time here. So don't feel judged, anybody that's watching us. I'm just saying you can walk through life with your eyes really. There's so many scriptures that talk about paying attention. Stay awake at Gethsemane. Jesus was like, for the love of God, stay awake. You know, I know that's context specific, but it's the only verse I could think of. I know that there's plenty of verses that talk about being alert.
Yeah. You
know, for the bridegroom, lest you have no oil in your candle. Yeah. You got to be awake and alert to realize some of these things because people will lead you astray. They'll be like, look at how happy I am, man. Look at how shiny my watch is. You want this. Yeah. You want this, right? And see you later, man. We'll wait for you on the other side when you're ready to be part of the winners. And meanwhile, it's like you get into that world and then you realize that it's so sophisticated that there's mechanisms that once you're in it to keep you from going, hey man, I'm in here and this is bullshit. I'm not happy. I got herpes from sleeping with too many people and I'm like in trouble. There's like mechanisms to keep you quiet once you're in there. You got skin in the game now. Now you're invested and you have to you're like us. Demons that have to pretend to be happy even though
that's the brutal part about materialism is the deeper you get into materialism, the more you start fearing losing everything. You realize how impermanent everything is and they're like, oh, I can lose all this. Now I have all this comfy coziness that I built for myself is all possible to lose.
It really is for our day and age hella deep stuff. It is. Because I believe that for normal people that are just trying, their head's not in this space, they're like, what is your deal, man? Either steal the sheep or be a shepherd, but don't just sit there and like talk about the game. There's a game afoot. You pick a side. But some of us are just not cool with resigning to either, you know, toiling as a sheep herder or being a sheep thief or whatever the given pieces of the game are. It's like, what the hell is the nature of this game? Where do they make Monopoly? What are the pieces made out of? What's the intent? What effect does it have on society? What are the statistics behind Monopoly? There's some people that are interested in the bigger picture, not just the moment by moment thing. And I suppose that's who this is for, who we're talking to, right?
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, you're probably going to be obligated to do something.
I see all these videos, but like that we react to, they're like lessons for me, essentially. I know you're probably the same way. You grow and you build off them and just more insights, you know, like I'm not immune to any of this. I'm in it. So I hope you don't think that we're coming from a place of like, and we figured it out. No,
well, I'll be honest. I got to be honest. I do feel like I figured out some things. And for those that get something out of that, great. There are for sure people beyond us, and we got to like listen to them. Yeah. You know, but that doesn't reflect anything. Yeah. Some people are intelligent and surpassed in other ways. Everybody's got their thing. Where they're ahead, where they're behind. And hopefully this was of some value.
All right. Well, guys, hopefully you did enjoy it. If you did enjoy it, please don't forget to hit the subscribe, like, share this with a friend, and everyone until next time,
stay spiritual.